Okay, so you want a dog. You've seen the videos. A puppy asleep on someone's chest. A golden retriever losing its mind with joy when the front door opens. A dog resting its head on a hospital bed. That's the picture in your head, and it's not a bad picture. That's what the breeder's photos are designed to make you feel. That's what the shelter's adoption page is built around. You look at that and you think, a bit of food, a few vet visits, some toys, how expensive can a dog really be? Here's the problem. You are pricing the puppy. You are not pricing the next 15 years. Because the truth is that a dog is not a pet you buy. A dog is a 15-year subscription you cannot cancel to a service that gets more expensive right at the end for a product that will never, ever pay you back a single dollar. And the moment you understand that, everything about the real economics of owning a dog, all the costs people never see coming, suddenly starts to make sense. So let's actually do it. Let's price a dog properly, from the day you bring it home to the day you say goodbye. And we're going to keep a running total on screen the entire time, because by the end, that number is going to be a lot bigger than you think. Let's start at zero. Let's start with the part everyone thinks they understand, buying the dog. Because just like there isn't one type of car, there isn't one type of dog purchase. There are several, and each one is a completely different financial decision wearing the same wagging tail. At the bottom, there's adoption. A shelter or rescue dog usually costs somewhere between $50 and $350. And here's the part people don't realize. That fee is a bargain that's hiding work someone already did for you. A good shelter has already spayed or neutered the dog, given its first vaccinations, and microchipped it. Those are real costs, hundreds of dollars, that are baked into that tiny fee. The shelter is not making money on you. They are subsidizing you. One step up, you have the breeder. Purebred dog from a responsible breeder typically runs $1,500 to $3,500, and for popular or show-quality lines, higher. You're paying for predictable size, predictable temperament, and health testing of the parents. In theory, you're prepaying to lower the odds of expensive genetic problems later. In theory. And then there's the top of the market, the designer dogs, the doodles, the tiny pocket breeds, the trendy crossbreeds. These can run $4,000, $5,000, sometimes more. And here's the first trap of dog economics, the one that catches people who think they're being savvy. The most expensive dog to buy is very often the most expensive dog to own. Those flat-faced breeds that cost a fortune up front, the ones that can barely breathe in summer, come with breathing surgeries, eye problems, and skin conditions built right in. You didn't just pay $5,000 for a puppy. You pre-ordered a decade of specialist vet bills. But let's be reasonable. Let's take the middle of the road. Let's say you adopt, and you pay $200. Add it to the total. $200. That felt cheap, didn't it? Hold that feeling. It's the last time this is going to feel cheap, because now you have a dog, and a dog cannot live in an empty room. Before this animal has spent one night in your home, you need the setup. And this is the part that quietly drains a credit card in a single weekend. You need a crate, $40 to $200 depending on size. A bed, which the dog may or may not choose to acknowledge exists, $30 to $100. Food and water bowls, a collar, a leash, a harness, an ID tag, poop bags, which you will be buying for the rest of the dog's life, a starter bag of food, basic grooming tools, and the first wave of toys, which for a puppy is less a luxury and more damage control, because a bored puppy will find something to destroy, and it's cheaper if that something is a chew toy and not your couch. None of these are huge on their own. Stacked together, that first shopping trip runs $200 to $600 for a basic setup, and easily more if you get talked into the nice stuff, which you will, because it's a new puppy and you've lost your mind a little. Let's say $350. Add it to the total, we're now at $550, and the dog has been home for one day. And here's where the naive mental model really starts to fall apart. Because you think the big first-year cost is the stuff. It isn't. It's the medicine. In the first year, a puppy needs a full series of vaccinations, not one shot, a series, spaced out over months. It needs deworming. It needs to be spayed or neutered if it wasn't already, which is a real surgery under anesthesia, running $250 to $800, depending on the size of the dog and where you live. It needs its first real checkups, where the vet looks it over and finds all the small things that turn into invoices. If you bought from a breeder instead of adopting, all of those spay, neuter, vaccine, and microchip costs, the ones the shelter had quietly absorbed for you, land directly on you instead. That cheap-looking adoption fee starts to look a lot smarter in hindsight. Between the medical work and the setup and the food, the honest number for the first year of a dog's life, according to most veterinary and pet ownership surveys, lands somewhere between $1,500 and $3,000. And that's for a healthy dog where nothing goes wrong. Let's put the medical and food side of that first year, on top of what we've already counted, at another $1,400. Add it to the total. We are now just under $2,000, and your dog is 1 year old. It has done nothing but exist, be healthy, and chew one shoe. And it has already cost you $2,000. Now, here's where the real business model of owning a dog reveals itself. Because up to now, these have been one-time costs. The setup, the puppy shots, the surgery. You pay them once, but now the dog settles into the long middle of its life, and this is where the subscription really kicks in. This is the part that runs, quietly, every single month, for over a decade. Let's break down the monthly burn. Food is first, and it's the one people underestimate the most, because they price it like they price their own groceries, and forget they're now feeding a second creature every day for 15 years. A small dog might cost $250 a year to feed. A large dog, a Labrador, a Shepherd, a big goofy mutt, can run $600, $700, $800 a year, and a giant breed even more. Put the average dog somewhere around $400 a year, just in food, before a single treat. Then the preventatives, and this is the invisible one, flea and tick medication. Heartworm prevention. These aren't optional extras, they're the cost of not getting a much bigger vet bill later. Together they run $150 to $300 a year, every year, forever. Then routine vet care. Even a perfectly healthy dog needs an annual checkup, booster vaccines, a dental look. Call it $250 to $500 a year when nothing is wrong. When something is wrong, and we'll get to that, the number has no ceiling. Then grooming, and this is where the breed you chose sends you the bill. A short-haired dog you can groom at home for the price of a brush. A poodle, a doodle, anything with hair that grows instead of sheds, needs professional grooming every 6 to 8 weeks. That's $50 to $90 a visit, 6 or more times a year. $600, $800, $1,000 a year, just to keep the dog from turning into a walking mop. The dog you paid the most for is, once again, the dog that costs the most to maintain. Then the miscellaneous river of money. Replacement toys, because they get destroyed. Treats, because you're weak. Poop bags, endlessly. New collars as the dog grows or the old one wears out. Call it $200 to $400 a year for the small stuff that never stops. And then the cost nobody plans for until the first time they try to go on vacation. What do you do with the dog? Boarding runs $40 to $75 a night. Daycare, if you work long hours, can run hundreds a month. Even 1 week-long trip a year, plus the occasional weekend, can quietly add $300 to over $1,000 annually. The dog doesn't just cost money when you're with it. It costs money when you try to leave it. Stack all of that together, the food, the preventatives, the routine vet, the grooming, the endless small stuff, the boarding, and the ongoing cost of a dog in a normal, healthy year lands somewhere between $1,500 and $3,000 every year for 12, 13, 15 years. So let's do the math that nobody does before they get the dog. Let's take a middle number, $2,000 a year, and run it across a dog's life. Say the dog lives 13 years, 12 more years of adult life after that first year, at $2,000 a year. That's $24,000. Add it to the total. We've now crossed $26,000. Read that number again. $26,000, and we still haven't hit the part that actually hurts. Because here's the counterintuitive engine at the very center of dog economics. The thing almost nobody prices in. You do not spend money on a dog evenly across its life. You think of it as a flat monthly cost, a smooth line. It isn't. The real shape of a dog's cost is a curve, and that curve goes vertical right at the end. For most of the middle years, the dog is cheap. It's healthy, it's boring, it eats and sleeps and costs you your predictable $2,000 a year. And that lulls you. You start to think you've got this dialed in, that a dog is a manageable, steady expense. And then the dog gets old. In the last 1 to 3 years of a dog's life, the medicine changes completely. The routine checkup finds something, a lump, a limp that doesn't go away, kidney numbers that are creeping the wrong way. And suddenly you are not buying prevention anymore, you are buying treatment. This is where the numbers stop being polite. Single emergency surgery, a torn knee ligament, a blockage from a swallowed sock, a tumor that needs removing, routinely runs $2,000 to $7,000. Cancer treatment, chemotherapy for a dog, which is absolutely a thing people do because they love their animal, can run $5,000 to over $10,000. Chronic conditions, heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, mean daily medication, and repeat visits that stack up month after month. Here's the part that should reframe this entire video. For a lot of dogs, the final year or two of life costs more than the entire first decade combined. You budgeted for a puppy. Nobody budgets for the vet bill that arrives when the dog is 12, and you would pay literally anything to buy it a little more time. Let's be honest and put a number on it, because this is the real cost of a dog that the cute math always leaves out. Across the back end of a dog's life, between the emergencies, the chronic care, and the end-of-life treatment, it is completely normal to spend $3,000 to $10,000 or more. Let's use a conservative $4,000. Add it to the total. We are now at roughly $30,000. $30,000. That's the real, honest, all-in lifetime cost of a single medium-sized dog. And here's the uncomfortable part. That number assumed your life stayed simple. It assumed you own your home, you never move, you never travel, and your dog is easy. The moment any of that isn't true, a whole second layer of cost shows up, and it's the layer nobody warns you about, because none of it has anything to do with the dog itself. Start with where you live. If you rent, a dog is not free to house. Most landlords who allow dogs charge a pet deposit of $200 to $500, and increasingly, a monthly pet rent on top of your actual rent, $25 to $50 a month, every month, just for the privilege of the dog existing in the building. Do that math across a decade, and you've paid $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in rent for an animal that takes up the space of a footstool. Then there's the law, because yes, your dog is a legal object. Most cities require you to license and register your dog, $10 to $20 a year, and fine you if you don't. And then the quiet one that blindsides people. Some homeowners and renters' insurance policies charge you more or refuse to cover you at all, based purely on your dog's breed. Certain breeds are treated by insurers exactly like a swimming pool or a trampoline, as a liability risk, because if your dog ever bites someone, you are financially responsible. And dog bite claims routinely run into the tens of thousands of dollars. Then there's training, which isn't a luxury for a lot of dogs. It's the thing standing between you and a decade of chaos. A basic group obedience class runs $150 to $300. If you get a dog with real behavioral problems, and shelter dogs sometimes come with a history, private training or a board and train program can run $500 to well over $1,000. You're not paying for tricks. You're paying so the dog doesn't destroy your home or hurt someone, which is a cost, or a catastrophe, depending on whether you pay it. And then the damage, which every dog owner pretends won't happen to them. The chewed couch, the scratched door, the carpet that has to be replaced. The one legendary afternoon a bored dog eats a section of drywall. It's not a line item you can plan, but across 15 years it is not a question of if, only how much. Stack all of that, the pet rent, the licensing, the insurance penalty, the training, the damage, and it explains exactly why that lifetime number doesn't stop at $30,000 for so many people. Choose a giant breed that eats more and needs bigger everything. Choose one of those expensive, flat-faced designer dogs with the built-in medical problems. Rent in an expensive city. Insure the dog for its whole life. Do any of that, and the lifetime number climbs past $40,000, even $50,000 without doing anything exotic at all. Now, there's one tool that's supposed to protect you from all of this, and it's worth understanding honestly, because it's the closest thing dog ownership has to a business decision. Pet insurance. The pitch is simple. Pay a monthly premium, $30 to $70 a month for a dog, so that the day the $7,000 surgery arrives, you're not choosing between your savings and your dog's life. And here's the uncomfortable math underneath it. Insurance is a bet, and the house usually wins. On average, across all dogs, people pay in a little more than they get back, because that's how insurance companies stay in business. But that average hides the whole point. Insurance isn't there for the average dog. It's there for the unlucky one. It's there for the specific bad night when your 2-year-old dog swallows something it shouldn't and needs a $5,000 surgery you did not see coming. For most owners, the real value isn't beating the insurance company. It's making sure that a sudden 5-figure emergency never forces you into the single worst decision a dog owner can face, saying no because you can't afford to say yes. Whether you buy the insurance or quietly set aside your own emergency fund instead, the lesson is the same. The big bill is not a maybe, it's a when. And the owners who survive it financially are the ones who admitted that before it arrived, not after. And this is where the two very different versions of dog ownership reveal themselves, because the $30,000 number is an average, and almost nobody actually lives at the average. In the optimistic scenario, you got lucky, and you were smart. You adopted a healthy medium-sized mutt, the mixed breeds that tend to dodge the worst genetic problems. It sheds instead of needing grooming. You own your home, so there's no pet rent. You trained it early, so it never destroyed anything expensive, and it lived a long, healthy life and passed quickly at the end without a drawn-out illness. In that best case, you might come in under $25,000 for the whole 15 years. That's the dream dog, financially speaking, and plenty of people genuinely get it. In the realistic scenario, 2 or 3 ordinary things go wrong, and none of them are exotic. The dog needs one surprise surgery in its middle years, a swallowed object, a torn knee. It develops one chronic condition in old age that needs daily medication for its last few years. You rent for part of its life, so you pay pet rent. It's a breed that needs grooming every 6 weeks. Nothing dramatic, nothing unlucky, just the normal texture of a real dog's real life. And that dog quietly costs you $40,000 or more, and almost none of it shows up as a single shocking event. It's a slightly bigger food bag, a slightly longer vet visit, one bad year at the end, compounding month after month until the real number looks nothing like the $200 adoption fee you started with. The gap between those two dogs, the lucky one and the ordinary one, can be $15,000, $20,000. And here's the part that matters. You do not get to choose which one you get. You find out over 15 years. So let's step back and look at the whole thing, all in, the way we'd look at any investment. Because that's what the finance version of this video would do. It would ask, coldly, what's the return? You spent $30,000, give or take. Let's tally what you got back. In strictly financial terms, resale value of the asset, 0. You will never sell this dog. Income generated, 0, unless you're breeding, which is a different business entirely, and mostly a myth for regular owners. Appreciation over time, negative. The dog does not grow more valuable, it grows older and more expensive. Tax benefit, none. Utility that offsets the cost. Well, it can't do your taxes, it can't drive you to work, it actively prevents you from traveling freely, and it will, at some point, cost you a couch. Run the spreadsheet, and owning a dog is one of the worst financial decisions a human being can make. It is a $30,000 purchase with no resale value, no income, guaranteed depreciation, and a cost curve that spikes at the exact moment you're most emotionally unable to say no. If a financial advisor pitched you this as an investment, you'd walk out of the room. And here's the thing, people do it anyway, millions and millions of them, on purpose. And the ones who've done it before, the ones who've already paid the $30,000 and stood in that vet's office at the end, are the first ones to go out and do the whole thing again. So the spreadsheet is missing something. It has to be, because no rational market behaves like this, where the customers who most understand the true cost are the most eager to pay it a second time. What the spreadsheet can't price is the thing you actually bought. You didn't buy an asset. You bought the animal that is genuinely, uncomplicatedly happy every single time you walk through the door, for 15 years. You bought the one relationship in your life with no agenda, no scorekeeping, no bad days that get taken out on you. You bought a warm weight against your leg on your worst evening, and a reason to walk outside on a morning you didn't want to face. You bought a witness to your whole life for a decade and a half, who thinks you are, without question, the best thing that has ever existed. None of that has a dollar value. That's exactly why the spreadsheet calls this a terrible decision. The spreadsheet can only see the $30,000 going out. It cannot see the only thing that ever mattered coming back. So here's the real answer to the economics of owning a dog. Yes, it will cost you around $30,000. Yes, it is. By every cold financial measure, money you will never get back. And no, if you're the kind of person who's ever loved one, you would not trade a single day of it to have the money instead. Because it was never an investment. It was never supposed to make you richer. Every penny of it was only ever buying one thing, a friend for life. And that, it turns out, is the best money you will ever spend.